What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, we're going to continue learning about list boxes with Tkinter and Python. All right, guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to look at list boxes in greater detail. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. That's all my courses, videos, and books for a one-time fee at just $49, which is insanely cheap. Okay, so it is day 3 of horrible gash on my head. Like I said in the other video, turned in my backyard, bumped into a tree, scratched my head. Didn't hurt at all, but man, it looks ugly, doesn't it? Anyway, day 3, it's healing, kind of, not really. Hopefully by next week it'll be gone. You don't have to look at it anymore, but we're just gonna push through it because who really cares? So like I said, in the last video, we looked at list boxes and we just went through the very basic stuff for list boxes. There's a bunch of other stuff. They have all kinds of functionality that we can use. And we're gonna look at some of those, a lot of those in this video. So first thing, we've got our list box here and we can delete one thing, but I didn't put a button on here to delete everything. So let's do that real quick. I've got my list box code here from the last video. If you didn't see it, check the playlist. There's a link in the comment section below. And I'm just gonna come down here and grab this button and let's just put it here. And let's call this button 3. And let's call this delete all. And let's make this a command of delete _ all. Okay, so now we need to create this function. So let's go define delete all, and we need a colon. And I'm just gonna come up to my delete thing, and right here, we use this delete function, right? So we can use that same function, but instead of just referencing anchor, we wanna delete everything. And the items in our list box is basically a list, a Python list. So we can just reference the range of things we want to delete. So we can go from 0 to end. Remember, end's that special keyword that will designate the last thing in our Tkinter widget thing. So, all right, let's go ahead and save that and run this real quick. And boom, delete all, and that works. So that's cool. Now, last time when we created our list box, we just sort of put it up on the screen, but you can use all the other features of all the other widgets we've looked at. So you could change the color, the height, the width, all that stuff in the same way we've done with all the other widgets. So for instance, when we created our list box, we could have said, you know, width equals 50. And the default width, I think, is 20. So it's pretty small. So if we say width equals 50, go ahead and save this and then just run it. Boom, now it's much wider. It looks a lot better. So that's cool. And like I said, you could do all the things. You could change the background color, the foreground color. You can change the font, you know, change the font size, all of the things that we've done for all the other widgets in the exact same way that we've done all the other widgets. So I'm not going to go over all those things in this video. You already know all that stuff. And if you don't, you can go back and watch the videos from the playlist where we've looked at those things. So the next thing we want to look at is, let's say we've got a whole bunch of things in our list. Right? And let's do that real quick. Let's make a bunch more. So here's our list, 1, 2, 3. Let's just create a bunch more of these. I'm just gonna copy this and paste, you know, a few more of these on there. And now if we run this, we see, okay, there's more, and we can go like this, and I'm tabbing down with my arrow key on my keyboard, but this isn't great. We really sort of need a scroll bar. So list boxes don't come with scroll bars by default. We have to use the Tkinter scrollbar widget and add it to a frame and then put all of these things in the same frame. So we have to put our list box in a frame, we have to put our scroll bar in a frame, and then it will work. Now, I'm not sure we've actually looked at scroll bars, and I'll probably talk about scroll bars in a coming video where we can get into them in more detail. I'm just gonna sort of go over it very quickly in this video so that we can add one here. So like I said, first things first, we need to create a frame. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to say create frame, and we can call this anything. I'm just going to call it my frame, and this is going to be a frame, and we want to put it in root, and that's really all we need to do. So then we also now want to create a scroll bar. So let's go my scroll bar, and that is a scroll bar, and we want to put it in my frame. We want to put it in that frame, right? And then we want to orient it. So orient and we want this to be vertical. And you could go horizontal back and forth or vertical up and down. And so I'm just gonna, I misspelled vertical. Vertical, there we go. So, okay, that looks good. And create frame and scroll bar. There we go. Now, actually, we want to put this stuff before the list box. So let's do that right there. Now our list box is in root. We don't want it in root anymore. Now we want to put it in my frame. So let's do that. Now we need to set the Y scroll command because we put this as vertical, up and down. So we need to set the Y scroll command because Y is up and down, X is, horizontal normally. So in our list box here, when we're defining it right at the beginning, we can just go Y scroll command equals, and then we want to set this to my scroll bar. So my scroll bar dot set. And again, we haven't really talked about scroll bars, so we don't know what these scroll commands are. I'll get into all this in a future video. For now, we just know this is how you create a scroll bar, right? So, okay, now before we pack this onto the screen, we need to configure our scroll bar a little bit. So let's say configure scroll bar. So I'm just going to copy this so we can go my scroll bar dot config. And we've configured things before. And we need to tell our scroll bar what to scroll, right? Well, it needs to scroll on our list box. So we give this a command equal to the name of our list box, which is my list box, dot Y view, because it's horizontal, or because it's vertical, up and down, and that's the Y view, the Y command, etc. You're getting the theme here. If we were going to do horizontal, it would be the X view, right? So, okay. And that looks good. Now we need to actually put the scroll bar on the screen. So we need to pack it, right? So let's go my scroll bar dot pack. And then we want to set this, where do we want this? We want it on the side equal the right-hand side. And we want to fill equals Y, up and down. Fill all the way up and down, right? Okay. And we also need to my underscore frame dot pack to put our frame on the screen. Okay, so let's save this and run this and see what I did to mess this up. And I already did. Y is not defined where fill equals, oh, this needs to be a capital Y. All right, right here for fill, capital Y. Okay, that looks good. Let's save this. And let me clear the screen here and let's run this guy again. And boom, we have a scroll bar and we can scroll. Very cool, right? Okay, so that wasn't that hard. Now we can do scroll bars. And like I said, if this is especially long, the items in here are wide and you want to scroll horizontal, you can do the same thing we just did with this, only set everything to horizontal and X instead of Y, right? So that's cool. So right now we can select one item, right? What if we want to select more than one item? That's totally normal for list box type things. And we can do that. Now you notice right here, I put a little comment where we defined our list box. You can set the default for your list box as single, browse, multiple, or extended. And single is what we're doing now, right? We're just clicking one thing, one single thing. But we can do, like I said, other things too. We can do multiple, we can extended, we can do browse. And we'll go over each of these real quick here. And to use these, all we have to do is when we define our list box, we can just set the select mode. So let's say multiple. Let's start out with that one. So select mode is multiple. Let's go ahead and save this and run it. And this will do just what it sounds, allow us to select multiple. So I'm just left clicking, and every time I do, it highlights a thing, right? I'm not holding down the shift key. I'm not holding down the control button, nothing at all, just the button, or just using the left mouse button. If we want to deselect, we can just click it again, right? So that's multiple. Now, the other two or three are very similar. So we got browse and extended. Let's do extended next. So extended, save this, and let's run it. And this is just like multiple, only we can hold down the shift key. I'm just clicking one at a time and they're not doing anything. But if I hold down the shift key on my keyboard and then click, you can see it does it all. right? So if we do this one, let's start over. 1, 2, 3. If I skip 1 and go 2, it gets all of them. That's holding down the shift key. If I hold the control key down, I can select specific ones without filling in all the inside ones in between, right? So that's extended. You may want to do that. And then finally we have browse. And browse is kind of weird. It allows us to move things around with the mouse. And finally, browse is supposed to allow you to move things around, but this is, as you can see, it's not really doing anything here. It's not moving the items. We have to do some special coding for that, and it's too much of a hassle to talk about in this video. It would take too long, so we're just going to not talk about browse. And so, okay, now let's go back and change this to multiple. This is the one I would probably use for the most part. This allows us to select multiple things. But then what do we do with them? So if we save this and run it, sure, we can pick several things. But then if we click delete, nothing happens because our delete function only deletes one thing. And we've selected many things. If we select this, nothing happens because before we were selecting one thing. Now we're selecting many things. So we need to make some alterations to our code to handle all of these different selections. And basically, when you're selecting multiple things, you're creating a little Python list of those things. And the list is made up of the item numbers. So you're not putting second item and this is an item in the list. You're putting 0 and 1 in the list, right? So let's just go over this with code and you'll see what I mean here. So let's see. First, let's sort of print all of them onto the screen like we were doing earlier with our select. Remember, we just configured our label, my label, to put whatever we'd selected onto the screen. Let's come down here and let's create another button. And I'm just going to call this button 4 because I'm very lazy today. And let's call select all. And let's create a function called select all. And let's come over here to our little function section here and let's create a new one. And so this is how we print things out to our little label. So I'll just put that in there. But instead of anchor, let's create a new variable. Let's just call it result. And so we're going to create a variable and we're going to string together all of the things on separate lines that we've selected. So let's define that variable right now. So there's something in there. Now, like I said, we can actually, let's just comment this out. So to grab all of those selections, those multiple selections, use the current selection function. So that's just, my list box dot cur selection. So let's just print this to the terminal real quick to see exactly what information this is returning to us. So if we save this, and now let's head back over and run this. And so let's pick the first one, the second one, and this one. So this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 0, 1, and 4. So if we select all, nothing happens. But if we close this, it will then print that out to the terminal, and we can see 0, 1, and 4. So it's not putting the actual item, it's putting its list number, its index number, right? So just sort of keep that in mind. So what do we do with those things? Well, let's uncomment these out again. Like I said, it's a list, so we can loop through that list and do stuff, right? So let's go for item in my listbox selection. So this will loop through each one. And then what do we want to do with each one? Well, let's add those things to this result variable. So for each item, let's go result equals result plus. Now we remember how to get something from our list box. We would just go my underscore listbox dot get and then pass in the index number that we want to get. Well, in this case, that's item because we're looping through our current selections. Each time we loop, it's selecting that item, which is the index number that we just saw from the terminal, 0, 1, or 4. And then we can grab 0, 1, or 4. So my listbox 0 is, this is an item, right? My listbox 1 is second item. Well, this will slap that in. Now, we need to make sure that this is a string because this could very well be a number or something. So let's just wrap this in a string function to go ahead and convert that. And now we also want to put these on new lines, so let's just put a /n there. Okay, so it will loop through all of the things we've selected, add them to our result variable, and then at the end, when it's all done, we can print that result variable to our label. Okay, so looking at this, it looks good. And then at the end, we want to print out our label, which is here we don't want to print out the whole thing. We just want to print out this variable that we've been creating right there. So, okay, let's save that. That should work. Let's head back over here and run this guy again. So this is an item. Let's also grab 1 and 3. So if we click this is an item. 1 and 3 gets printed on the screen. Awesome. So that's pretty easy. We just have to loop through the list that we've created when we've selected all of these things. Add another one. Boom, that gets added. Cool. So now we want to delete all. We want to delete the selected. So let's do that real quick. So let's come down here to the bottom, create another button. And let's call this button 5. And let's say delete multiple. And up here, and for our command, let's call this delete _multiple. And let's copy this. And let's come up here and to our little function section and create a new function, define delete multiple, colon. So same thing here, right? We're going to create a loop. We've got our current selection, right? That's my list box current selection. We can now loop through and for each one of those things, just delete them, right? So I'm just going to copy this whole thing right here and create another one of these. Then for each of those items, we would just go my _listbox dot delete item. But this isn't actually going to work, right? Because every time it loops through and deletes an item, the list itself changes and the item number now won't sync up. So we actually need to delete these from the bottom of the list to the top. And we can do that just by calling the reversed function here. So we can go reversed. Well, actually, let's just run this on its own and just so you can see what happens. And it goes a little wonky on us. So for instance, if we click this is an item, second item, and 1, and we click delete multiple, we expect these 3 things to disappear. So 2 should be the first one listed in our box. So if we click this though, boom, second item doesn't get deleted because it starts at the beginning, it deletes the 0th item, right? Then the next item list is 1, but the list has been changed. And so the first one is now the second thing listed, not the first thing listed. It just gets all messed up. So it's hard to talk about how that is to visualize what's going on there, but that's what's going on. And we can change that, like I said, just by running, instead of looping through our list, we can loop through our list in reverse. And to do that, we just call the reversed function and just wrap all of this in that reversed function. Now this will delete the last item in our list first, and then the next item, and the next item, and the next item up until it deletes them all. So it's just kind of a little hack to get around that goofiness. So, okay. Now, if we select this one, and this one, now 2 should be the only one listed when we click this button. Boom, that worked. So 2, 3, 1, we can select it, and then we can delete it. Now these all still are on the screen. So if we wanted to configure our label, we could just do that. If we wanted to, let's do that real quick and change that to nothing. All right, so save this and run it. Not particularly important, but boom, boom, boom. So select all, they appear here, delete all, they disappear there, and they disappear there. So, okay, pretty cool. So this video is getting a little bit long. I think we'll stop there. We've got our scroll bar. That's nice and handy. We can select multiple things. We can view multiple things. We can delete multiple things. And this same bit of code will work for those other select modes as well. So the select methods, extended, and what was the other one? Let's look real quick. My memory is not what it used to be. So yeah, extended and browse and multiple. Well, at least extended it will work for by looping through it as we've done already. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. So you pay just $49 to access all my courses, over 40 courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 100,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from codemy.com, and we'll see you in the next video.